Hello and welcome to Simple Country Place. I have 4 super easy, delicious meal ideas for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, welcome, and enjoy. So the first thing I'm making is pork chops and au gratin potatoes. I'm starting with the potatoes. I have a roux going with some melted butter and flour. Mixing that together. Let the flour cook for a little bit and then adding heavy cream to that. And then for seasonings, I added black pepper, cayenne seasoning, and parsley. I also added some shredded cheese, and then, it was kind of a mistake because the sauce instantly thickened and more than I wanted. Obviously I wanted it thick, but it instantly thickened, so I dealt with it, but it wasn't ideal. So to a sprayed baking dish, I layered down some super thin potatoes that I'd sliced on my mandolin and some diced onion, and then I'm adding that cheese sauce that's super thick. So you can see I had issues getting it in there. It's not really pourable, but made it work. And then I continued to add, so another layer of potatoes and some onions and some more of that cheese sauce. When I got to the top, I did add more cream because I was like, oh, this is gonna be in the oven and it's probably not gonna be great without extra liquid. So I added some more cream and some shredded cheese to the top, as well as some parsley, and then covered it and threw that in the oven. For the pork chops, I'm making glaze to brush on them, and I am using ketchup, vinegar, Worcestershire sauce, some olive oil, seasoned salt, onion powder, minced garlic, and brown sugar, and mix that all together. And just a fun fact, I extremely hate the smell of vinegar. I try to avoid it at all costs, but sometimes you gotta bite the bullet and use it. But I don't mind the taste, honestly. It's the smell that gets me. And I know some people use it for cleaning purposes and whatnot. My sister is a big vinegar cleaning fan. And I just can't. I can't do it. And she's asked me to come help her with various projects and whatnot, and I'm like, if you're using vinegar, I'm not going to do that. So I'll bring my own stuff. Anywho, that was a tangent. Once I got that all whisked together, I brushed all sides of the pork chops with that glaze, and then I obviously didn't use it all. So once I got it all brushed, I covered the dish, put it in the oven, and then I did halfway through, take them out, brush them again, put it back in the oven. And this meal, it required a little bit of prep work in the beginning, but after that, it's just everything's in the oven and you just mill about and wait for it to get done. So it was pretty simple. And I served the potatoes and the pork chops with some steamed seasoned carrots And my husband loved it. Like, he likes pork chops. Nephew liked it. He's not a huge fan of, like, quote unquote slabs of meat, as he calls them, but he was fed. So on this day I made beef stew, and so I'd cut up a chuck roast and got that browned on most-ish sides, and obviously not fully cooked, but I removed it from that pan and then added some butter to melt, and then I like scraped the bottom bits. To that I added some minced garlic and tomato paste. And then tomato paste is gonna look weird, but it was frozen. Like, I usually don't use like a whole like jar of it, so I always freeze the leftovers and then break it up. So some frozen tomato paste that I broke up and tried to cook a bit. And then to that I'm also adding water and beef bouillon cubes to make broth. Once I got that broth situation started, I added the beef back in, and then I also had some diced potatoes, onions, and celery and carrots. That the celery and carrots were frozen, that I had leftover fresh from just some produce that I cut up and froze into like little baggies for this type of situation for stews and chilies and all those things. So added that back in, and then I did add a bit more water for seasonings. I added some parsley, pepper, Italian seasoning, and a couple bay leaves. And then I gave everything a good stir and put a lid on it, and it simmered for like 3-ish hours. I was home this day, so I like started it in the afternoon-ish and just let it cook until my husband and nephew got home. Gave it an occasional glance and stir. And I just served that with some biscuits. And both my husband and my nephew really liked this, and there was plenty of leftovers. My nephew took it to school the next day for like his lunch to like reheat. And it was, yeah, pretty easy peasy. On this day I made Philly cheesesteak pasta, and so I'm starting with I think it's a New York strip. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I'm gonna go with. And I'm cutting off the fat as much as I can, and then cutting it up into like bite-size-ish pieces. And I'm gonna get that cooking. For seasonings, at this point I added Italian seasoning and salt and pepper and started cooking that down. Then I also cut up a onion and some bell peppers, and I'm going to be adding that to get those cooking down. At this point, I also added some more Italian seasoning and some oregano. Once the steak was cooked through, I removed that from the pan and then cooked some garlic and added water and beef bouillon again to make broth. Then to that I added Worcestershire sauce, some heavy cream, some smoked paprika, oregano, and Italian style shredded cheese, as well as some black pepper for like the pasta sauce. In addition, I had some pasta noodles cooking on the side to get them al dente. I think they were rotini. Once I got that sauce all good to go, I added the steak, onions, and peppers back in and the cooked noodles, and then just stirred that all around and coated everything nice and evenly. And yes, the rotini was great for this because I collected all of the sauce bits, and I just served this with a side salad. And my nephew really he likes all things pasta, so he liked it a lot, and my husband also enjoyed it, so it was a win and pretty easy. On this day, I made cracked chicken enchiladas. So I had this recipe, and I have a list of recipes that I was like, oh, I should try that at some point. I've had this one for a long time, and I was like, okay, finally time. So, I look at recipes for inspiration, but I don't super follow them. But cream cheese, half a block that I had, and then I had cooked some chicken in the crock pot, shredded that up, added that. I cooked some bacon, diced that up, added that, and then I mixed those three things together until everything was well incorporated. To that, I added ranch powder and shredded cheese, shredded cheddar cheese, I believe, and mixed that all again until everything was well incorporated. And I knew my husband loves all things anything with bacon he would eat, but he likes bacon ranch stuff, and so I knew he would like this. But where it got kind of weird was the sauce that we'll get to in a minute. But anyways, that chicken mixture, I just threw it on some tortilla shells and wrapped it up and put it in a casserole dish like you would enchiladas. And then for the sauce, I started with a roux again, butter and flour, mix that all together, and then I had the chicken broth from the chicken that I cooked in the crock pot. I had the broth left, so I reserved some of that and threw that into the roux to like make the base of the sauce essentially. Once I got that base to like where I felt good about it, and it was like thickened and like enough amount and all those things, I added sour cream and diced green chilies, as well as some taco seasoning, and mixed that all together really good. And then I poured that over the wraps in the casserole dish, covered it with some cheese, covered it with some tin foil, and then threw it in the oven. And then I let that cook for a while, but like the last bit of cooking, I did remove the tin foil and put my oven on broiled to like let the cheese and stuff get all cheesy broiled. And I served that with some like cut up lettuce and tomato like I would normal enchiladas. And my brother was over this day too, and he loved it. My husband loved it. My nephew, I mean, he's kind of like wishy-washy with everything. He liked it. So I guess it was a win. I was kind of worried about like the taco sauce seasoning stuff with chicken bacon ranch. I don't know. It seemed like a weird combo, but apparently it was good. I obviously didn't eat it because it was full of meat, but my husband said like most of the times when I try new recipes, I was like, oh, do you want me to make this again? And he was like, yeah. So he said yes to this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please come back for future videos.